If you're new here, my name is Sydney and I have a 13-month-old son, and I'm actually currently pregnant at 19 weeks with a little girl. Today I'm doing a video on the dreadful 2-week wait. And I'm actually going to be discussing with you the 2-week wait with this pregnancy that I'm in right now currently. I'm going to tell you how I knew I was pregnant before I got the positive test, and if you guys are going through that 2-week wait, I know how frustrating it can be, and especially if you're an impatient person like I am. So I hope you guys enjoy listening to what I experienced during that 2-week wait, and maybe you're experiencing the same thing. So if you want to hear what I have to say, then please continue to watch. Okay guys, just to let you know, my son is right here, and he's being a hyper boy, so you might hear him in the background. So, he wouldn't take a nap this morning. Well, he hasn't yet, but he will in a little bit. Right, Reese? Okay, so First I want to start by telling you, my husband, if you ask my husband, he would say we weren't trying. I would say that we kind of were. So I told my husband I was ready to have another baby, and we wanted our babies to be close in age. So our babies are going to be about 17 months apart. Alright, so there's this store, this really cheap Reese store, that sells all different kinds of like cleaning supplies, makeup, just all kinds of things for super cheap. And I saw that they had the ovulation kits, which I think they're normally like 20 or 30 bucks. And I got one when we were trying for my son, and I saw them there, and I think they were like $2, $1 or $2. They were so cheap. And it was like the name brand. I don't remember the name brand that you would get at Walmart. But I went ahead and purchased it, and then I said, well, whenever we do when we do start trying for our second, I'll use this. Well, I went ahead, whenever we were trying, I went ahead and started taking the ovulation kit. And the one bad thing about this, which I didn't really pay attention to when I bought it and think about it, but they were expired. So once I started taking them, I noticed that I wasn't getting a positive ovulation. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm too early. I ended up looking into it, and they said a lot of times if you use an expired ovulation kit, it won't be accurate. Okay, so I took the ovulation kit throughout the whole time frame on my app that said that I would be fertile, and I was not getting a positive. So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe it's because it's expired. But then I looked it up, and they said that sometimes you can have a period and not actually ovulate in that month. So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe that's what's happening. Maybe I'm not ovulating. So during that 2-week wait period, a few things started really happening to me that made me think, okay, I probably am pregnant. So I'm actually a dental hygienist, and I am crazy about flossing my teeth. I haven't missed a single day of flossing for 2 years now. A single day. I'm just like very adamant about my flossing. If you don't know, whenever you're pregnant, your hormones causes your gums to bleed a lot more. It's just your hormones. Well, I actually noticed this when I was pregnant with my son. I noticed my gums were bleeding more. And I think this was when I was actually already knew I was pregnant with him. And I was telling my husband, like, oh my gosh, it's gross, my gums are bleeding a lot. And, well, this time I was just flossing like normal, and normally my gums never bleed because I do it so often, and they started bleeding, and it wasn't like light, it was moderate. And I was like, what? So I even told my husband, I'm like, Evan, my gums are bleeding again. I wonder if we are pregnant. And he just kind of laughed at me and thought, whatever. But I definitely think that's a sign. So if you don't floss or brush all the time, just try to get into the routine and see if when you're brushing, if you are bleeding more than you normally would, because that was definitely a sign for me. Alright guys, so another sign was how emotional I was. Now, I already am an emotional person, I would say, but this was to the next level. I was actually working on my son's 1-year photo book, and my sister was over. And I was writing something at the beginning of it, and I wrote out this really sweet little message to my son. And I was crying whenever I was writing it. I actually wrote it the day before. Well, when my sister was over, I was telling her, I'm like, come over here and read this, it's so sweet. And she kept going, no, because she was over on the other couch. She's like, no, just read it out loud. And I knew if I read it out loud, I would start crying. And I was like, no, please just come over here. And she's like, Sid, I don't want to get up. So I'm like, okay. So I started reading it. And I kid you not, it took me 3 times to read it. I was bawling. And my sister was laughing at me. She's like, oh my gosh. She's like, you're so sweet. Which I don't know, at the time she didn't know that we were like trying, so she didn't really think anything of it, but she was probably like, why is she so emotional? But I was even thinking at that time, like, why am I was bawling when I was trying to read this, and that's just not like me to like bawl over reading something. But I mean, what I was writing was so sweet, and it still makes me kind of tear up if I read it, but not to the point of bawling. So definitely being emotional. And then also one night, this was during the 2-week period, I was being hateful towards my husband. I remember I was saying something, or I was just being kind of rude, and then I just started crying instantly afterwards because I felt so guilty that I was being rude to him. And then he was like, are you okay? And right then too, I was like, Evan, what if I'm pregnant? I'm just all over the place. I said, Evan, what if I am pregnant? I'm just all over the place with my emotions. I definitely knew something was different there. Okay, so another thing I had was vivid dreams and night sweats. And this actually only happened to me, I shouldn't say night sweats, it happened one night. I had a super crazy dream, and you know when you're pregnant, if you haven't been pregnant before, that you have weird dreams. That's just part of it. You have crazy dreams. And I had a really weird dream one night, and then I woke up and I was sweating. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was pregnancy related. I've heard of other people having that, but that just happened to me one night. Two other things besides the negative ovulation kits that was kind of making me think maybe I wasn't pregnant was, you know, the CM you get, the cervical mucus. Well, when I was pregnant with my son, I had a moderate amount pretty much throughout that whole period. And this was before I even knew that was a sign, but I remember thinking later, I'm like, oh, well, that was an obvious sign that it never went away or it never dried up. When I got pregnant this time, I was like monitoring it like crazy. But it was weird because one day I would have some and I'd be like, oh, whoa, okay. And then the next day it'd be completely gone and dry. And I'm like, because normally with my normal cycles, I'm completely dry up until my period. So yeah, but then every time I'd get a little bit, I'd be like, okay, well maybe. But yeah, that confused me because this time I didn't have a bunch of it, but I still ended up pregnant. The other thing was I didn't have sore boobs at all. And they always say, oh, your boobs can be so sore, which I did have that with my son. But this time, my boobs were not sore. So if you guys aren't having sore boobs, don't let it freak you out if you're really wanting to be pregnant, because I didn't have any sore boobs whatsoever. And then I ended up getting pregnant. But right now that I am 19 weeks pregnant, my boobs are so sore. But that's besides the point. Alright guys, so the last thing I'm going to tell you and mention is my food cravings. I didn't have like crazy food cravings, but there was one time, it was a Saturday during the 2-week period, and my husband was like, let's go drive to this other town. So we went to this other town, and I saw McDonald's, and I was like, please can we stop there? That sounds so good. And I don't like to eat fast food that much, and I hardly ever eat McChickens anymore or anything like that. But I wanted that so bad, so bad. So we went in there and I got a McChicken and I got fries, and then we also got ice cream. And I was eating it and thought it tasted amazing. And I ate all of it, and then I was eating some of my husband's too. And he was starting laughing at me like, geez, you know? And I'm like, that's so strange. And I didn't say anything that time, but I was thinking how strange that I was just craving it so bad and that it tasted extra, extra good. And even with ice cream, I'm not a big ice cream person, but it was like amazing. So if you guys are having any weird food cravings that you don't normally have, if you're having night sweats or weird dreams, if you're extremely emotional, if your gums are bleeding, then maybe you're pregnant. I know the 2-week wait period can be so frustrating, but it's only 2 weeks. You'll get through it, and then you'll find out if you have a baby. Okay guys, these have gotten kind of gross. They're a little moldy looking. It's gross, but they've been in a baggie. So this first one, it's not even showing up good on the camera. It was extremely, extremely faint. And like I said, that I didn't know exactly when I ovulated, so I could have been so early when I finally got the faintest line. But this one I put first on it because this made me think that I was pregnant. So the next day I got this one, which is definitely, you can see the line there. The third day, definite. And then the next, I think I already knew I was pregnant here, so I think this was a few days later. But this was a definite, obvious positive. and I was really excited. I got a picture with my son and holding this, and it was really sweet because how I told my husband was I got a shirt that said best brother in the world. But yeah, these were the positive tests.